Can you hear that sound echoing through Toronto? It's the deafening silence of a fan base growing increasingly restless as their beloved Maple Leafs sit on their hands, while other NHL franchises are making moves left, right, and center. But before you grab your pitchforks and demand action from General Manager Brad Treliving, take a deep breath and consider this. Sometimes the smartest move is the one you don't make. The art of strategic in action, here we are, deep into the summer doldrums, and the hockey world is buzzing with trade rumors and free agency frenzy. Every day brings news of another blockbuster deal, another franchise-altering signing, another team going all in for glory. Meanwhile, the Toronto Maple Leafs are sitting in their boardroom like a poker player who knows exactly when to fold and when to hold their cards close to the vest. The reality is that Toronto finds itself in an unusual position of strength through restraint. While fans are chomping at the bit for another marquee addition, the organization is playing a longer game that could pay massive dividends down the road. It's the kind of strategic patience that separates championship-caliber front offices from those that make desperate moves for the sake of appeasing impatient supporters. The Marner aftermath. Addition through subtraction, let's address the elephant in the room first. The Mitch Marner departure. On paper, losing a player of Marner's caliber makes any team worse in the immediate term. There's no sugarcoating that reality. But what the Leafs have done with the newfound salary cap flexibility is genuinely impressive. Even if it doesn't generate the same headlines as landing a superstar, the additions of Matthias Maxelli, Nick Roy, and Dakota Joshua represent smart, calculated moves that address depth concerns without breaking the bank. These three players are projected combined for over 100 points, which means Toronto has essentially replaced Marner's production through committee while freeing up significant financial resources. It's the kind of mathematical wizardry that might not excite casual fans, but should have analytics departments nodding in approval. The core remains championship caliber, despite the hand-wringing from some quarters. Let's not forget what Toronto still has in place. Auston Matthews remains one of the most dangerous goal scorers in the NHL, a player who can single-handedly change the trajectory of any game. William Nylander continues to develop into a complete player who can create offense from seemingly impossible situations. John Tavares brings veteran leadership and clutch performance that can't be measured in traditional statistics. This core trio gives Toronto a foundation that most franchises would mortgage their future to acquire. The question isn't whether they have enough talent to compete. It's whether they have the right supporting cast and strategic approach to maximize that talent when it matters most. The salary cap chess match here is where things get really interesting from a strategic standpoint. Toronto currently sits with $2.9 million in salary cap space, which might seem restricted compared to teams with more financial flexibility. But smart organizations understand that timing is everything in salary cap management, and the Leafs are positioning themselves for a much bigger play down the road. The temptation to trade players like Kaye Jarnkrok, David Kampf, and Max Domi to create an additional $8 million in cap space is understandable. These moves will provide immediate financial relief and potentially allow Toronto to pursue a bigger fish in the current market. However, executing such trades in the middle of summer, when most teams have already solidified their rosters and have limited cap space themselves, would likely result in selling low on assets that could have more value later. The 2026 golden opportunity. This is where the Leafs' long-term thinking becomes truly fascinating. The 2026 unrestricted free agent class is being described by NHL insiders as potentially historic in terms of talent availability. We're talking about a group of players that could reshape the entire landscape of professional hockey, and Toronto is positioning itself to be a major player in that sweepstakes. With $24 million in projected cap space for the summer of 2026, while keeping their core intact, the Leafs will have the financial firepower to pursue virtually any player they want. It's the kind of strategic positioning that requires patience and discipline, qualities that aren't always appreciated by fans who want immediate gratification. The trade deadline strategy, the real genius of Toronto's current approach, becomes apparent when you consider the trade deadline dynamics. Names like Kirill Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Jason Robertson, and Kyle Connor could all become available if their respective teams find themselves out of playoff contention by February or March. While Connor McDavid remains the ultimate prize in 2026, these four players represent a kind of game-changing talent that could elevate Toronto from playoff contender to legitimate Stanley Cup favorite. The beauty of waiting until the trade deadline is that Toronto will have a much clearer picture of which teams are selling and which players might be available. That $2.9 million in current cap space, combined with the ability to move contracts at the deadline, could be the difference between landing a superstar and settling for a second-tier addition. The risk-reward calculation, of course. This patient approach isn't without risks. Injuries could derail the season before any deadline moves become possible. Chemistry issues can merge with the new roster configuration. Other teams might swoop in and acquire the players Toronto is targeting. These are legitimate concerns that any responsible front office must consider. However, the alternative, making desperate moves now to appease fan expectations, carries even greater risks. Overpaying for marginal improvements in the current market could compromise Toronto's ability to make the truly franchise-altering moves that become available later. Trust the process. Even when it's uncomfortable, the hardest part about this strategy is that it requires faith in the front office's vision and patience from a fan base that has endured decades of playoff disappointment. It's natural for supporters to want immediate action, especially after watching other teams make splashy moves that generate excitement and optimism. But championship organizations understand that sustainable success requires thinking beyond the next few months. The Leafs are betting that their current roster can compete effectively this season while positioning themselves for an even stronger future. It's a calculated gamble that could pay enormous dividends if executed properly. The 2024-25 season will serve as a crucial test of this philosophy. If Toronto can prove that their depth additions and strategic patience translate into playoff success, it will validate their approach. If they fall short, the pressure to abandon this long-term strategy will become overwhelming. What do you think about the Leafs' patient approach? Are they being smart by waiting for better opportunities? Or should they be more aggressive in pursuing immediate upgrades? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to hit that like button if you appreciate this deeper dive into NHL strategy and salary cap management.